Welcome to the Your Diabestie podcast, the podcast that ensures you don't have to do diabetes alone. My name is Mila. I live with latent autoimmune diabetes in adults, and today I have an extremely special guest on the podcast. You might recognize the name Sigrid if you're already a part of my community because of this amazing company with an amazing mission. So today on the podcast, I have Sigrid's co-founder and CEO, Sana Alajmovic. Welcome, Sana.
Thank you, dear Mila, for having me. It's a pleasure.
I'm so excited to talk to you, but also to have the audience just hear your story and hear the ways that your company is really trying to really focus on preventative health and change people's health. And I always like to start out by asking my guests, what's your connection to diabetes?
First of all, I grew up with a father who was pre-diabetic, and he did not get the support from the healthcare system that he needed to reverse his pre-diabetes. He was simply told to go home, to eat more healthily and exercise more. And let me also tell you, my father is a doctor. So if anyone is aware of what diabetes, is, he is. But even himself, he had a hard time making these lifestyle changes. And it was also a lot of related to stress. He could see 20 patients in a day. So eventually, 10 years down the line, he developed full-blown type 2 diabetes. And that's when the doctor suddenly said, oh, Dr. Alajmovic, now we have tons of medications to give you. And that was an eye-opener for me because I got to experience as a family member that, a healthcare system where we work not proactively, but reactively. And I think that's utterly wrong. A couple of years ago, the same things happened to my brother, who got the diagnosis of being pre-diabetic. As you all already are well aware, there's a genetic component in developing diabetes. And so it was, back at square one, but this time with my brother. And I've lived with family members now. I've seen what it does to you when your blood sugar goes down, the mood swings, when we've been traveling. He has experienced ketoacidosis. So it is not easy.
I think next to living with diabetes, being a person who loves someone with diabetes and seeing them go through the motions of diabetes, like my mother had type 2 diabetes and she unfortunately passed away 2 years ago, but I just saw her struggle a lot with it and the frustration. And then I also intimately understood it because I was going through a lot of the similar things with my own diagnosis. So I think having that perspective is so interesting because you can see it from the outside. You can see what your family member is going through. How did seeing that experience for you inspire or inform your work and what you do now?
Because I started researching, well, what is this disease and can it be prevented? And then I realized that pre-diabetes is actually reversible. Type 2 diabetes, depending on where you are along the line, but late stage type 2 diabetes is very difficult to reverse. Some say it can be done with drastic lifestyle changes, but majority of people, they don't get healthy from their diabetes. That's when I started to realizing, wait a second, my dad is not alone. And I started talking to other friends. I soon realized, well, everyone seems to know someone with type 2 diabetes. And, statistics showed it was 500 million people living with pre-diabetes, another 500 million living with type 2 diabetes. And there has never been a type 2 diabetic which wasn't a pre-diabetic at some point. So that really made me convinced that I wanted to work within healthcare, and I wanted to work within preventative healthcare because that's where I feel we can make the most impact. And I was fortunate enough to meet a professor in physiology, a well-known professor, Tore Bengtsson here in Sweden, which has spent 25-30 years of his career understanding the mechanisms behind why we develop type 2 diabetes. And he had this amazing invention that he has been working on, and I was just taken aback, and I said, we need to get this out to patients, to people, to consumers. It can't just be a great invention, world-class science that's just going to be stuck
And so tell us about that invention.
So we started Sigrid, and Sigrid is actually a female Viking name. It means beautiful victory. And the beautiful victory we're aspiring to achieve is to bring world-class science and research to consumers and patients so that we can prevent people from falling sick with chronic lifestyle diseases, but also at the same time enable them to live life to their fullest without restrictions. And we have developed and patented a unique technology based on an Silica. It's a natural mineral which is extracted and purified and engineered. So it basically works like a sponge in your gut, and it entraps these digestive enzymes. So it slows down your digestion and reduces caloric uptake and balances out your blood sugar, helps you sustain a healthy weight, and just reduces bloating, gives you more energy, and also prevents you from developing type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic and remarkable. And I have to tell the audience too that I heard about this through you guys. You had an event in Miami, but I couldn't attend. Yeah. And so, you were like, we'll send you some product, try it out, see how it does for you. And much like a lot of other things that I've tried out and kind of tested to see like what could make diabetes management easier, I was like, okay, I'll try, we'll see. But I was absolutely shocked in the difference that it made in the stability of my blood sugars. And instead of seeing lines after my meals that were kind of this roller coaster, this like up and down, I was seeing these straighter curves in my glucose. And the only thing that I had changed was taking glucose stabilizer. And Sana has it here if you're watching the video version. Yeah, taking glucose stabilizer, 2 tablets, right before my meal and doing nothing else different. And I was just like, wow, this is really powerful, but also so remarkable, and seeing like the drastic difference from one day to the next. And so it works, and it's backed by clinical studies.
Oh my gosh, 13 years of research and development. And just to tie to that, when consumers and patients share this data with us or tell us, I always want to cry because, that's why I've been spending my last decade of my career and my, professional life building this company just to see that impact. And my brother, who was pre-diabetic, has now been using this, and he has been able to reverse to normal stage. He doesn't have pre-diabetes any longer. I feel in one way, I couldn't save my dad, but I've been given opportunity to save my brother, Samir.
That's amazing, and like such a testament to what you're doing, and that work has really paid off for sure. And I kind of want to switch gears a little bit, because we talked about healthcare systems being less preventative and more reactive to people's health. Mm-hmm. And one of the kind of like big stories of 2023 was about Ozempic or semaglutide and drugs that are GLP-1 agonists that essentially do very similar things to glucose stabilizer, but they are wildly expensive. They are so hard to come by. There is always a shortage of them, so people can't reliably take them at times. And so I would love to know from you, describe the pros and cons of these medications for the long term versus incorporating something like Sigrid glucose stabilizer into your daily routine.
First of all, I think the GLP-1s and Ozempic have a huge role to play for certain patient populations, which today not have access to effective treatments. So I think in that aspect, they are certainly great. I also think what they've made us realize is that obesity is not a choice. It is a complex chronic disease with underpinnings in biology, societal factors, environmental factors, and it's really shift the focus, actually that it can be treated. So I think Ozempic has been a paradigm shift in that way, and in that way it's great. But what it's also happened is that a lot of other people, normal weight people without diabetes, are taking it, which has also led to this shortage we're seeing in patients that really need these medications. And what happens is, this is still a drug which you're injecting. So you are going to have these side effects. There's risk of, there are gastrointestinal side effects, vomiting, nausea, that's one thing. But then 25 to 30% of the weight you're losing is actually muscles. So that will put you at a higher risk for bone fractures. So I think you really need to have, it needs to be a risk-benefit ratio before you embark on these type of invasive therapies. The glucose stabilizer, on the other hand, this is a natural mineral which is engineered to work locally in your gut. There is no systemic absorption. There's nothing going into your bloodstream. It's not affecting other organs. It leaves the body naturally together with food. So it is a non-hormonal solution. It is effective in that it is cutting away these carbs and fats. So you have less caloric uptake, and that is evening out both your lipid curves as well as your blood sugar curves and helping with the weight loss and also the weight control. And is doing so in a very natural, sustainable way. You don't need a prescription to buy the glucose stabilizer. It's at a much affordable price point than Ozempic. So I think it just makes more sense for certain types of patient population or consumers to be choosing something more sustainable and safer long term.
And I love what you said about the different needs of different people and how like GLP-1 agonist injections can be good for certain populations of people, but also it needs to be kind of this balance of what's the risk versus like your health benefits at the end of it. And that's so important to recognize and realize that, we are all bio-individual. So not everything, is for everyone, but there are different solutions that work really well. So I really appreciate you mentioning that and saying that.
Because what it also does, just much like the Ozempics, it also stimulates your GLP-1, but it does so naturally and not to the same extreme extent as the GLP-1 does. But given our product slows down the digestion, so you feel fuller for longer, it reduces the need for cravings. And something we've also noticed is when normal weight people are taking the Ozempic, a lot of them feel actually quite tired. They don't have the same amount of energy. You are not going to feel that with glucose stabilizer. You are going to feel more energized. And that's also because we're actually more effective in cutting post-meal blood sugar. So the blood sugar right after a meal. And we've also heard, or consumers coming back to us and patients as well, that feel that Ozempic has maybe not been optimal when it comes to the post-meal blood sugar. It reduces the long-term blood sugar because it reduces weight, but not so much that post-meal blood sugar, which we have been shown to be really, really good at.
So from your time in research, what do you think are the best ways to balance and maintain blood sugars?
Yes. So first of all, I would like to say that's one of the reasons we love working with you, Mila, because you show very clearly that a diabetes diagnosis, it does not mean that life ends. You can still enjoy life to the fullest, but you need to lead a balanced life. And there's a saying that your genetics load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. So it's very important to eat healthily. What does that mean? It means more proteins and fibers, to try to move every day, to exercise. But I also very much believe in living life to the fullest. And, if you want to have that piece of bread, or you want to have that pasta or that glass of red wine, to actually also indulge at times, because that also gives you happiness, and it's a long life you're going to live, hopefully. So you have to also find some pleasure, and food is, especially when we're together with friends and family eating together. And that's why really why I love our own product so much. It's because it allows you to actually, enjoy yourself in moderation and still get good health and feel healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I like one of the sayings that I've kind of adopted recently is joy is also a nutrient, because if you are living this kind of like joyless existence, you're not able to like enjoy the foods that you love. That's just like not in existence at all. That's
no, because food is so much more. It's also social gathering. It's a celebration of life. In all of our important celebrations and holidays, we all gather around the table, around food. So it's very hard. And I mean, I've seen it with my own dad. Like, it's been, of course, he's made healthier choices, but we're from Bosnia. You have bread with every meal, and he's not going to cut out that bread. It's going to be very difficult for him. And then I also believe in building a community and seeking out communities like the Hangry Woman, where you can bounce off ideas, where you can find inspiration, where you can help one another. And I think, the work you're doing is amazing and inspiring others.
Thank you so much. Recently, you were featured in Forbes about how groundbreaking glucose stabilizer has been in clinical studies. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting was that when you were first seeking out funding, partners told you that prevention was not profitable, that it wasn't like a good area to focus in. And I think that you've really flipped that on its head and proved to them that prevention is something that people really, really want. People want good health. They don't want to live with chronic diseases. They don't want to have to be taking medications every day for the rest of their life. And so for you, kind of seeing it through the whole process, how does it make you feel to know that prevention is really important to people and you're doing something to change that?
Thank you for that question, Mila. I wasn't expecting that, but I think it's about staying true to your vision. And I've always thought prevention is better than cure. And if I'm going to build, my legacy and spend a decade of my life building Sigrid, I will do it in something I believe in. And I really strongly believe that even if we were early on talking about prevention, whether it wasn't trendy or cool, at least then we have a role in educating everyone else. And we have, if it was easy, it would already have been done. So to me, it was just not an option to quit. And now we are at a space where, everyone is aware of glucose, how it impacts not only diabetes, but, glucose impacts so many other things. If we're tired, if we have acne, if we have dry skin, if we develop Alzheimer's, even some form of cancers. So blood sugar has become mainstream. And I think that's wonderful. I think it's great that people, whether they're diabetic or not, are more aware of the benefits of controlling their blood sugar. And I just hope for Sigrid to continue being that strong force and to inspire more people and to create this global impact and hopefully make a shift also in healthcare. So we're moving into self-care, where we as consumers can take charge of our own health. We are not dependent on the healthcare system to fix our health.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that is like the perfect place to end on. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for just everything that you're doing for preventative health and self-care and just enabling people to live happier, healthier lives. I think that's like something that as human beings, we all want. We all want to live the longest, healthiest life possible. And you're doing that. You are doing that in a major way and helping people to achieve that.
I would also just love to end with this quote. It's not about the years in your life, it's about the life in your years.
That is beautiful. All right, that's the mic drop.
Likewise, Mila, thank you so much for what you're doing for our community as well.
Thank you.
Giving people hope and showing them that it's possible to live to lead a fulfilling life even though you're diabetic.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for sharing today on the podcast and for being here, Sana. You are just a brilliant, amazing person. I want to let the audience know that if you want to read the transcript of this episode or you want to see the video podcast, visit diabestiepod.com. I'll also leave my link for a discount on glucose stabilizer so that you're able to try it out for yourself and enjoy the benefits of living your best, healthiest life possible. So thank you again, Sana, for being on the podcast today. And I hope that everyone has a great one. I'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.